Hello YouTube and welcome back to my Let's Play Kerbal Space Program series. This is going to be episode 29 and we've got a lot to do in this episode, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing I want to go over is we need to grab all of our science from our space stations that we have out in space, out in orbit. So I've pre-recorded those. I'm going to cut to that clip and let you see what all I collected off of those science stations, and we'll be right back. Okay, so let's check our stations real quick, because it's been quite a while. A lot of time has passed. You see we're year 29. It's been quite a while since we've collected the science off of these stations. They're probably full, so I just want to collect the science so they can continue to process whatever data they have left. So yeah, we see here we've got 497 science and still 400 data on here. So let's transmit this science. I wonder if these guys have gone insane yet from being out here around the sun all this time, because this is the one that's orbiting Kerbal, the star. Alright, that is complete. 497 science there. And now let's go see if we can just do this from this screen. We have one around Kerbal itself, which is here. And it looks like this one's going to finish up all of its data. Just letting it process the data out. Doesn't seem like time warp doesn't seem to help. Now we need to figure out how to get some more data to this station. Come on, last point. There we go. Alright, let's transmit this. That'll be another 162 science. And that's complete. Alright, now let's go to our moon station. Do the same thing here. Okay, we're full, so we can go ahead and transmit this one. Got quite a bit of we may not be able to get this one all. Let's try and see how much battery, see how the battery holds up. Should be fine. We have over 7,000 charge, but we're going behind the moon. We're heading to the dark side here, so it's going to be losing its recharge ability. But yeah, I think we'll be fine. That's why we wanted so much battery storage on these stations. And that's 100%. And now it's processing more. We can send another round. I wonder if I can do that on the... I didn't look at the one around the star. Okay, we're probably going to kill off our battery here. I may have to time warp and get back into the sun there. let's do that. Let's head on around, get back into our electric charge. There we go. Now I wonder if I'm at the best orientation. Looks like half of my panels are being blocked. So let's see if we can reorient this station a little bit. Do something like this. And then those panels are now out of the shadow of each other. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's transmit some more science. All right, that's complete, and it's processing the last bit here. End up with maybe even a couple hundred more. Okay, looks like that's it for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and transmit this, and then we'll head out to Minmus and do that one. All right, so this one has a little bit more data to process over time. All right, now for Minmus. I think I'm going to go ahead and time warp, get this into the sun. And I may have to reposition this one as well, like we did with the moon. Yeah, I think we'll do that because we're casting a shadow. So if we do it like this, actually if I point this radially out, well, let's try that. That's one round finished. And we can do a second transmit. We may have enough science to just about fill out the tree at this point because we started with 1663 before we collected all this. All right, round 2 is finished. Let's see how much it's going to give us on this third round. You'd think as long as the scientists have been in the station doing research, they would have got experience and leveled up by now. It's one thing I don't really like about KSP, how it does its XP. Like, I would have to send these scientists to other situations to get experience for them. Alright, so we're going to transmit this last little bit here. Well, it's 300, it's not little. But they still have 0.015 data left to process, and it's going to take a little while to do that. At 0.0002 science per day. Alright, well that's all the science collected. Let's go back to the Space Center now and see how much we have total. We're sitting on 5326. We started with 1663, so we collected 3,663 science off of our 4 stations. Not terrible. It's been 29 years have gone by, roughly, or probably, I don't think we put those up around probably year 1 or year 2 at the latest, so probably about 27 years. But it was passive because we spent a lot of time warping out to planets. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure we updated our science. Okay, and just wanted to show on camera, I have quite a bit of science. I'm just going to go ahead and purchase everything up to this line minus the aerodynamics line because we don't need it right now. We'll fill out later with, when we get more, we'll just go ahead and fill out use the rest of them up on the aerodynamics. But since we're not doing a lot of airplane stuff right now, so we should be able to fill out this line as well. Okay, so we don't have enough to finish it out, but this should be all we need for quite a while, so just wanted to show that on camera. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way. Not sure if I'll just show you what I've ended up with here. So we have all the science up to here minus the aerodynamics route, or the aircraft aviation route. And then we still lack 3 more of the high-end nodes, but we have 896 science at the moment, and we pretty much, this is what we got. So now in this episode, now that we've got the science out of the way, we are going to go to Moho and set up our relay network. Now I wanted to show, I found a calculator online that will give you your orbital dimensions for a different body. If you remember back when we did our relay network around Minmus, we used a very specific altitude. I think it was 377 kilometers for that orbit. But each planet is different, and you can't use 377 for every planet. So let's go to that website real quick and I'll show you what I found and what we came up with. So here we are. It's meyerweb.com, and I'll leave a link in the description below. This is a resonant orbit calculator. Basically what you do, you put in the body, and I think this just does, no, this does all the moons and everything. Okay, so all of the orbital bodies in the game are listed here. You select your body, you select the number of satellites you're going to have. In our case, we're going to have 3. And then you put in, you put in your orbit, and it will tell you what the orbital period will be. So I just had to play around with it until I found a number that was manageable. So I put in I just kept trying different orbits until I came up with 104, 146, and that gave me a orbital period of 2 hours and 14 minutes and 0 seconds. So see, if we were to change this to say 300,000, the orbital period changes. So this is the orbital period of your satellite. Okay, this is the yellow line. So if we go back to our 401, 146, our orbital period of the satellite will be 2 hours and 14 minutes and 0 seconds. And that's what I was looking for, was some kind of a round number with, 0 seconds basically. It would be, nicer if it was like an even 2 hours or something like that, but any kind of number like this that we can work with. And what it does, it also gives you the resonant orbit, which is this green line. And this is the delivery vessel. So what we do is we get our delivery vessel in this orbit. We'll drop the first satellite here, and then we'll follow this green orbit all the way around. And we'll drop satellite number 2 in the exact same spot. We'll take another lap, and then we'll drop off satellite number 3. And what happens is, so the first satellite is going to, when we drop a satellite, we have to adjust its orbit down to this 2 hours and 14 minutes. So we'll drop a satellite, we change its orbit to the yellow line, and then it will move about 120 degrees out by the time we make. So it'll take a full lap, but since it's on the inside track, it'll go faster. So when the satellite makes a lap, then it will take another 1/3 of a lap by the time the delivery vessel gets back to here. So when we drop the second satellite, the first one is 120 degrees out of phase. It's ahead of this one, 120 degrees. And then we'll take another lap, and when we drop the third one, satellite 1 will be at, was it 240 degrees? So you have one at 0, one at 120, one at 240. And that would give you line of sight between all 3 satellites, like a triangle. So you can go back and watch my episode, I forget which episode it was, but when we did the relay network around Minmus, to get an idea of what we're doing here. But anyway, I thought this was pretty handy. We use this for all the planets because we've got to do this to all of the other planets as well. So this will be a very handy tool for us to use for that. So just wanted to show that before we move along. And now what we're going to have to do, this is, if you remember our flyby of Moho, we were not able to capture an orbit because it just took so much delta V that we ended up only doing a flyby. So this is going to require a good bit of delta V, and it got pretty heavy. So we're going to have to do this in 2 stages. I'm going to have to launch the satellite array first, which I've already pre-built this so that we don't have to waste too much time. I'll go over the build with you. Actually, make sure I'm on the right. I think I have it labeled, yeah, Deep Space Relay Moho. Let's load this up. So this is the delivery vehicle here. Basically, we have 3 satellites here. Let me just get rid of the fairing so you can see. I've got to use these RA100s because of the distance, and we need relay networks or relay antennas. You can't use, you have, this is a direct communication. If you see, antenna type is direct. So we can't use these communitrons. Even the 88 is a direct antenna. We've got to have a relay antenna. And going back to the antenna spreadsheet that we saw a few episodes back, it's these RA100s is what we need for out there. So I have 3 of these, and you can see this interstage nodes is on. So when you have the fairing, if you turn on your interstage nodes, you can stack like this. I just had to go with the largest fairing that I have, which is well, which one is this? Let's see, this is the AEFF5. Yeah, so this is the 5 meter fairing. I tried a smaller one and the nodes were too close together. I could not get these larger antennas on there, so I'm going with this largest fairing. I have of course a probe body here and a battery. Let's see, I don't have just looking, I don't have any solar panels on this section. I don't know that I need solar panels on this section though, because once I get this into orbit, it's going to just sit there and wait for the next section. The next section that we have this may not be the, let me load up, I did a test in my test world. Let's see if this is it. Okay, this is the actual this is what we're going to be launching for our actual relay with. So this is the relay network here up top, and then I have my probe body with a battery, and I did put some solar panels. I have 2 of these gigantors on here, one on each side, and then we have this Wolfhound. So the way this works, we'll have a separate vehicle that will send this to get the encounter, and then it will separate. Once we're in the Moho system, this will be enough to get our orbit capture, as well as do our shouldn't need much more fuel after that, but to do our delivery of these satellites. And then there should be enough left to deorbit this section into the planet so that we don't have the debris. So this, looking at the delta V on everything here, we'll start with this upper stage. In a vacuum, this has 4,124 delta V in a vacuum. And that was enough to get, in my test, that was enough to get an orbit around, comfortably get an orbit around Moho. Especially once we get into space and we get rid of these fairings, this will go up. So we'll have more than 41, 42. And then I have 3512 delta V. It's a little on the light side, but if I fly it properly, I can get this into orbit around Kerbal. So the first objective is get this into orbit, and then once we do that, we'll launch a second our second stage, which is the transfer vessel here. So all we have on this is just a probe body for control, and notice we have this docking port up here, and we have one on the other one as well. But this ship, or rocket I should call it, is the one that's going to do the docking maneuvers. So we have the RCS thrusters. We have 4 up top and 4 down at the bottom. And the center of mass on this section is going to be about right here where my mouse is. So I tested this, and that's what it takes to get this thing to move around properly in space. We have some RCS tanks. I've got 2 on each side. These look like mystery goo containers, but it's actually RCS, or it's a monoprop tank. And then also inside here I have 4 more of these small ones. So this gives me, I think, 180 monopropellant, which more than I need, but I don't want to get up there and run out trying to do this rendezvous, because I really want to do the rendezvous with as minimal amount of fuel as possible. So we have here, I've got a Rhino liquid fuel engine here, and this is going to be the transfer vehicle. So we have this adapter has fuel in it. I actually need to add some oxidizer to that. If I add this oxidizer back, what does that give us? That puts us 3665. That should work. We may not need this fuel. This is just a transfer vessel. All we need this for, so we have this adapter tank, and we have 2 of these bigger tanks here, and then 1 small one at the bottom. And that's enough to get us transferred out to the Moho system and make our inclination change and get our encounter with Moho. And then we will get rid of this section and use the other vehicle for our orbit capture and delivery of the satellites. So we'll launch this one second. I guess just go over the booster section here. I have 5, so I got 2 of the solid rocket boosters, as you can see, all on the first stage. They will separate, and then we'll still have the 3 main engines. And I did not do asparagus staging on these because I need the thrust. You see our thrust to weight ratio right now is, the best I could get is 1.3. So I need all these burning the whole way, all 3 of these main engines. That's the Mammoth. I need all 3 of those burning the whole way in order to maintain the thrust to weight ratio I need. Now I did put separatrons on all of these. You can see it here, barely. And a pretty aggressive angle on those to push them away from the rocket. Same for these here. These will actually end up separating while in space. Because I've tested this a couple times and I'm actually in space before I make this separation. So anyway, that's enough talking about it. I just wanted to go over the build since we're not actually building it on screen here, but wanted to go over that before we launch everything. So let's get to our first launch, which is going to be the transfer vessel. No, not the transfer vessel. We want the deep space relay. And let me just rename this because this is no longer test. We got the correct mission flag. Alright, I'm going to save that. Alright, let's put this one in orbit and see how it goes. Okay, so that launch actually went horrible because I forgot during my test, one of the things I had to do was initially the build had six of these S4-128s, and it was flopping around like a noodle. Too many parts, and it was just too long. So I had to replace some of these S4-256 tanks. Actually, I'm looking, I could probably put one of these 512s in this one's place here. We'll try this though. And then I went through and made sure to auto strut to the heaviest part all the engines and all the tanks. So I made this modification, and let's give this another try and see how it goes. That's a little better. Still a little shaky, but it's much better than it was. Okay, so here we are in orbit, 81 by 80. I had to make a little bit of an inclination adjustment to get me back to zero. Just barely had enough fuel. We're sitting at 67 delta V is all that's left. But I'm going to go ahead and point this section to the planet and separate here. And I'm also going to deploy our solar panels. Not that we have an issue with power. We have a pretty big power bank, because it's counting all these batteries, I believe, that are on the satellite sections. But we want to make sure we got a long trip ahead. We don't want to lose power while we're flying through space. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and separate this section out, which is going to be this decoupler here. Let's just go ahead and decouple that. And I'm going to activate this engine and give it just a little bump, just to get us moving off of there. And as you can see now, without all the fairings and everything, we have 5,072 delta V for this section here. This is what's going to deliver, this is what's going to capture the orbit and deliver the satellites. And actually, I just noticed I messed up. Okay, so little disclosure here, I used the cheat, the F12 cheat, to set orbit on this, because I got this rocket up into orbit and had it about 85 kilometers or so, or 80 kilometers, and I went to separate, and I separated at the wrong place. I separated my clamp, my docking port. I separated it from the main engine. So if we deploy the fairing here, you see I have another decoupler here, and I decoupled from here instead of here. And in the interest of time, I had already achieved the orbit, I just screwed up my decoupling. So in the interest of time, I went ahead and just set this back to about 86 kilometers. So this time I'm going to decouple from the correct spot here. And I just got to get these separated somehow a little bit, which may be a If I can spin it without breaking it. Using the reaction wheels, hopefully I can get it separated without breaking it. There we go. Okay, so we also need to, let's go ahead and deploy this fairing off here. And I want to get my solar panels out. So let's go ahead and put this into a prograde. I want to make sure this panel's not going to hit the debris. It looks like they're drifting apart, so that should be good. Actually, I can maybe speed up time a little bit here and see if they'll separate a little more from each other. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so yeah, sorry about the little had to cheat a little bit there, but ooh, these things sure are bouncing a lot. But I didn't want to have to do it again, so now we can go back to the Space Center and launch the transfer vessel, transfer section. And I want to look, try to keep them somewhat close if I can. Let's see, will that show up as a relay? Yeah, so here's, I just want to launch the try to get them a little closer with time here. Before I do my next launch, that'll use a little less. And I will leave the probe behind us so that it can catch up to us. So when we do our launch, we want to put our periapsis at 86 and then our apo about 90 plus. And then that will allow the relay section to catch up to us. So let's go ahead and launch now. So we're going for 86 by 90 or so. And that's going to be the Moho transfer vessel, I believe. Let's see. I believe this one is good to go here. Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong motor. This is the wrong vessel. Because that atomic engine did not work very well for me. There we go. This is the right one. So let's call this Revision 1. We will save that and we will launch this. I think we're good. Okay, just want to double check my staging here. We got the 5 main engines and the supports on the same stage. Then the SBRs will separate and continue with, should have 3 engines on. That's the Separatrons. Okay. That makes sense. Alright, SAS on. and throttle up. And let's give this thing a go. I think this is the largest rocket I've ever built here. Start leaning it over a little. Fingers crossed. And here we go. Alright, that worked very well. Let's see, I'm going to deploy this fairing off of here. I do have a couple of solar panels. Let's go ahead and get those out. Alright, and we got to start making our burn here. Okay, so there's a 85 by 81, and before I go much further, I wanted to go through this fuel transfer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on this tank here, and I'm just going to lock that one up here. That's the one we're going to transfer into, and then I'm going to alt right click this one and just click on the out buttons, and it's going to push it into this one. I'm going to do the same thing for this one and this one. And then we'll do the other side. Oh, it's supposed to be out. Okay, so now all the fuel is in the center section here. So now I can separate these two sections off, and should help our mass a little bit. But I'm going to stage this. I'm going to use my space bar so that it pulls, so that it fires these at the same time. Alright, so those are out of the way, and what I want to do next is look at my inclination. Okay, so there we go. I've got my inclination set, and now I want to look at this rendezvous. So we're going to have to adjust our orbit a little bit. I need to push my, I'm going to go right here at my apoapsis, and I'm going to push out a little bit, get my peri, well, I'm going to get my apoapsis up to 90. So that we can have a, we'll be going slower than the relay network. You can see how slow this thing moves. If you see, I'm trying to move to the maneuver node here. It's just, I've got a couple of reaction wheels on this, and it's still pretty slow turning this thing around. So that's why I wanted to get those booster sections off, so that we don't have to fight this thing so much. And really all I'm doing, I'm trying to make my orbit a little bit larger so that I'll be going slower than the target. And that should do right there. And since we're so close, I'm going to go ahead and separate. We only have, well, let's see. Let's try to get us an encounter here. What if I do the maneuver somewhere else? That's 1.9 kilometers there. 1.7. I like that. That have us 200 meters apart with a separation or relative speed of 12.8 meters per second. So yeah, I think we'll go for that. We'll use this. It's only 7.6 meters per second of delta V. I'll go ahead and do the burn, and then I'll separate this big section off, and then that way we can, because we're going to have to be able to flip around or retrograde our target, and then or point toward the target. We have to flip back and forth a little bit, so we need to be a little more agile when we do get ready for the actual docking. But we might as well use the delta V that we have here. So what I'm going to be looking for is this intersect here. I'm going to get that down to about 200 meters if I can. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just draw it on down as close as it will go. Okay, we'll stop there. I want to get rid of this section now and start looking to get our docking set up. That should be good. We'll decouple that. Activate this engine. Give it just a little bump out of there. Alright, now we want to set up ourselves retrograde to our target. And then I will fast forward, speed up our time warp a little bit here, and let this section come to us. My orbit is fine. I'm still 87 by 78. Whenever you're doing these maneuvers, you gotta keep an eye and make sure you haven't messed up your orbit. Now we should get within 200 of this, and then I'll start burning to slow down our relative speed, and then we can probably start the docking procedure at that point. Okay, so we're getting on close to where we want to start our burn here. We just want to slow this relative speed down to about 0. Alright, and then I'm going to point towards my target. And another thing I need to do is control. I want to control from here. And then we need to move over to the other ship as soon as this one finishes moving. I want to move over to the relay section and do the same thing. Let this get on its mark here. Alright, and then we're going to control from here. And let's acquire this other target. And point this to that target. And now we shouldn't have to do anything else with this section once it gets aligned here. All the work will be done from the other side over here. We're going to activate our RCS and see if we can start So I'm lining up my retrograde marker here on that target. Actually, I think I've got to get my prograde on there. Yeah, that's what I need to do. Alright, we're starting to close in the gap now. Alright, how much monopropellant? Okay, we got plenty. 144 left. And I'm going to see if I can get my speed up a little bit more here. But I still need to stay aligned. Alright, we'll just let this close in. Our orbit's still looking good. 87 by 86. And our intercept is 151. That's closing in. And as I adjust my alignment, you'll see that that'll even come in more. Can probably get a little bit more speed going. Go to about 0.8. Maybe a little more. One meter a second is probably fine. I hesitate to use the time warp here because I think that might throw this section off. I would have to go back over there and realign it. I don't know, let's see. Let's give it a little bump here and see. We'll just hop back over to this other side right quick and see. Yeah, see it. It came off of it. We're still on the target, but it had reset itself. Okay, so we need to realign. Like so. Alright, we are 60 meters away. And I'm just going to let it drift on in at this point. And there we go. So we have docked up in space, and we now have our transfer vehicle attached to our delivery vehicle here. It should draw itself on into that marker there. Whoa. Okay, I'm having to redock again, start it all over, because I forgot to auto strut my two together here, and it flew apart on me as I was trying to head to Moho. So, redocked here, and now this time I'm going to before I do anything, we're going to auto strut. And hopefully that will help. So if I make this control from here, and then what I want to do is I want to auto strut this to the root part. Now let's move around some and see. Hopefully that will work better. I didn't have this problem in my test world. I don't know if I just got lucky, or I can't remember if I did auto strut in my test world, but we're going to give this another try. I've got to redo my maneuver or my encounter and all that again. So let's go for Moho once again, see what it gives us. Okay. So here we go, we got something 205 days from now. So I'm going to warp to that spot and see if we can try this again. Alright, so I'm coming up on this burn, and I hope this thing doesn't fly apart like it did last time. We're about to find out. And mark. Okay, it seems to be doing much better now. Well, it may be getting worse. If I can auto strut this onto the root part, maybe that'll help it. It seems to be holding together. So I got to do this burn for another 3 minutes and 50 seconds. So I'm going to do that, and then I will be right back. Hopefully the ship holds up. Okay, so I've executed that burn, and our next objective I think is going to be to fix this inclination. So what I'm going to do is set a maneuver on this node here. And we will try to get this dotted line to match this yellow line here. That was pretty close. That's 1500 delta V. And we were supposed to spend 2520 on this inclination burn here. But we don't have 1500. So we're not going to be able to do all of this on this engine here, unfortunately. We're going to have to use some of this, which I think I might have a little extra here. So I'm wondering, should I just transfer some of this fuel? I think it would be better to transfer some fuel into this section so we don't have to separate during the burn. I don't really want to separate during the burn. Okay, so now we have enough to do the full burn here. I think that'll be better because I don't want to have to separate in the middle of this burn and accidentally separate something off that I don't intend to. So let us now, it's 91 days, we will fast forward. Okay, we're on our maneuver node here, just about 20 seconds out. It's going to take 1 minute and 39 seconds for this. I'm going to have just about 4,000 delta V left, I believe. And that may or may not be enough to get our orbit. Okay, there's that burn. Now let's see about getting an encounter. Okay, so we have an encounter here. Now we need to bring this periapsis into, we're shooting for 401, 146. Let's see how close we can get that. Probably take that. So that's 170 meters of delta V, which is exactly what we have in this vehicle. And I just don't know if we're going to be able to get this, capture this orbit or not. At least we're going pro grade, which is what I wanted. We'll just have to get out there and see. We're going to have just under 4,000 delta V left. And we're going to be moving about 13,500 meters per second. So that's really, really moving. So I just don't know. We'll have to get out there and just see. I'm going to warp to this node and do this burn. Okay, close as I can get it there, I think. I'm going to get on out here. Just see if we can. Actually, that's not what I want. Let's see what it's going to cost us. Okay, so that's looking like about 2,600. So we should be good. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and separate. I want to put the fuel back in here, what little bit we have. Okay, so all these tanks are empty. So we should be good to go to separate here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this decoupler. Okay, we're going to control from here. I'm going to activate this engine. Give it just a little bump so that we get some separation over time. And now I want to warp to here. And once we get here, we'll set up this orbit burn. I'm actually not going prograde, I'm going retrograde here, which is unfortunate. It'll work either way, I just would have preferred to be going prograde. Alright, add maneuver, retrograde. Okay, looks like we're going to be good. So our current periapsis, the periapsis is not what we wanted. So we'll have to adjust that. But anyway, we can do that. Let's get our orbit. We need the apoapsis needs to be 676,468. So let's do that. 676. 468. That's pretty close. That'll take 2746 delta V, and then we'll have to pull the periapsis in a little bit. Alright, let's warp. Well, let me get on my maneuver. It's going to be retrograde, but I'll just put it on the maneuver node. We're not going to have a whole lot of delta V left. But hopefully it will be enough. Because really the only other burn we have to do is to capture this, or to pull the periapsis down. It's taking 5 minutes. Where's my ship? Well, we're going to have to take 5 minutes. Okay, so we got our orbit around Moho. We have 567 delta V left. And we got one more little burn we've got to do. Apoapsis, I got it close. The periapsis, I need to get it pretty much dead on. So we want that to be 401, 146. So what I want to do is add a maneuver here. And we need to bring it in. So I need to burn retrograde a little bit to 401. .401 146 is what we ideally want. And mark. I need 401 146. I don't know how close I can actually get it. Let me dial this down as low as it will go. Ah, overshot it. I think I can get it though. probably worrying a little too much. I don't need to get it dead on, but let's just see. Okay, 41145. I can live with that. And then we'll get back to our periapsis. We'll see, what is our period right now? Current period is, we're 3 seconds off. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it that. So I need to push that out to 468. It's a very, very fast move there. Well, let's see what we can do. And I'm really just watching this period. I need to get that 2 hours 58 minutes and 0 seconds. I don't need that on retrograde though. Two hours, 58 minutes, and 40 seconds. Alright, that's what we want. Now I'm going to wait. I'm going to come back around again to here. And then drop my first satellite. I don't know if we'll have enough fuel to deorbit. Alright, I'm close enough to my periapsis. I'm going to go ahead and decouple here. I'm going to get to this engine. Let's activate this engine. And I'm just going to bump it out a little bit. I want to get this to a retrograde. And we want to burn this down to 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 0 seconds. Let's turn these thrusters down even. Okay, 2 hours, 14 minutes. Let's deploy our panels. And let's rename this Moho Relay Sat 1 and make this a, okay, it's already a relay. Now we go to this here and we will come back around. So we're going this way, so we want to come back to here. And we'll do that again. When we get to our, we're 6 minutes from our periapsis. Okay. Just gonna wait till I get to about 5 seconds from my periapsis, and we'll decouple this one. Okay, we'll decouple. I will move this one here. Now I need to control from here. Activate this engine. And we need 2 hours, 14 minutes, 0 seconds. Okay, deploy solar panels, and we'll rename this one Moho Relay Sat 2. And one more time around the block. Alright, get on up to our periapsis here. This has been a difficult mission. And I think they're only going to get more difficult from here. Because next is going to be to get a science station out here. And let's rename Moho Relay Sat 3. Alright. So let's look and see how we ended up here. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and see how close we can get to deorbiting this thing. Don't know if it's enough delta V or not. But let's find out. Yeah, looks like it's plenty of delta V. Alright. So let us Do a little time warp to get that out of the way. And what I wanted to do is look at their separation and see what we ended up with here. So we're on relay SAT1 now, which is this one. And if we set 2 as a target, we look at our phase angle, so we're 0.8 degrees out. That's not bad. If we look at number 3 here, we're 0.5 out on that one. And then let's switch to relay number 2 and check them. So we're 0.3 degrees out there. And 0.8. So it's really not bad at all. Let's see how this thing's doing. Getting ready to crash into the planet. Oh, here we go. Well, we've touched the surface of Moho at least. So I think this is going to be an easy planet to land on. It's pretty flat. Got some hills. I think we can find us a flat spot pretty easy out here. But I wanted to look at here's our ComNet. And we shouldn't ever lose comms. So that worked out pretty good. It was a hard mission, but at least now we have a relay network out here. So our next mission is to set, of course, the science station up, and it'll have 2 scientists on board. But they'll be in constant communication with Kerbal at least, so whenever we are ready to send the science back, we won't have to fast forward or get into a zone where we have comms. And we won't lose communications while we're transmitting our data. So that was the reason I wanted to put this up, and it is also one of our victory conditions for the 50-point challenge. So something we had to do. Let's get some screenshots of this here. And that's it. So that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. I know it was kind of a long one. I'll edit it down as much as I can, but there's a lot of parts in here that are sort of critical to the mission and to the content of the video, so it may end up being a little lengthy. But if you want to follow my progress, up in the top right you should see a window that will take you to the playlist, so you can start back from episode 0 if you'd like. And in the top left there's a subscribe button. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.